Evening. This is the pre-council meeting for the City of Joliet, August the 30th, 2015. The Honorable Mayor Bob Odenkirk presiding.
Start with roll call. Mayor Odenkirk. Here. Councilwoman Gavin.
Here.
Councilman Girl.
Here.
Councilman Hug.
Here.
Councilman McFarland. Absent. Councilman Morris.
Here.
Councilman Mudrin.
Here.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Here.
Councilman Turk.
Here.
Mayor, we did have a few people sign up to speak on citizens to be heard on agenda items.
That's fine.
First, Donald Black.
Hi, I'm Don Black. I live at 616 Wildwood Drive here in Joliet. I'm here on this application of the Bistries to vacate the utility easement on the south side of their house. I'm a member of the Architectural Committee for Unit 4 of Timber Estates. The other two members of the committee are also here this evening. I just want to make a few comments. I understand that our Architectural Committee doesn't really have any jurisdiction over whether the City Council vacates the easement or does not. That's not within our realm of authority. But up until noon today, I was under the assumption, based on what the city had been telling me, that a building permit would not be issued unless the homeowner had the approval of the Architectural Committee. Then at noon today, I had a telephone call and received an email from Jim Torrey with the city. He said he emailed it out to us on Friday. I didn't get it. Tom Carey didn't get it. Dan Mihelich didn't get it. Jane Condit didn't get it, even though it said on there that it was sent to us. Nobody received it. It wasn't in spam. It wasn't anywhere else. And the essence of what he told me today and what his memo says is that if the homeowner complies with the ordinances of the City of Joliet, it's going to issue the building permit. And he cites 2.5 lines of your city building code. The only thing I would ask is that the city not issue the building permit for 15 days, as he kind of indicates in the letter. He might not issue it within 15 days anyway, to give us a chance to read this ordinance and to see what the case law says. And if we agree with what Mr. Torrey says in his email to us, well then fine, that's the end of it. If we've got some contradictory law or we find something else in the ordinance that we think applies and he does need Architectural Committee approval, then I think we'll go back to the city and tell him that. So the only thing I want to say is, if you vacate the easement, you vacate the easement. We don't, the Architectural Committee doesn't have any jurisdiction over that, but I'd ask that the city not issue the building permit for 15 days to give us the opportunity to review what Mr. Torrey is telling us is the law in this matter. Thank you.
Mayor,
If there's any question, I'll be happy to answer them.
can we get a copy of that letter memo that was sent out? Do we have a copy? I mean,
Yeah, that was.
so that we could look at it?
Yeah. Excuse me, in a nutshell, it basically says that although we make an effort to notify architectural review committees or tell people they need architectural review by their and check with their deed restrictions and their subdivision association, we cannot withhold issuing a building permit if they're in compliance with the city zoning laws and regulations. Okay. So we have to go ahead and issue a permit if somebody meets all those guidelines. We do tell them, they should check with their homeowners association in that regard, and so that's basically what was conveyed to the homeowners association in this instance.
Okay, thank you.
And Jim, the only thing we're asking, we'd like some time to be able to read the ordinance and read the case law and see if this is in fact the law. If that's the law, then yeah, we have to comply with it. But if there's something to the contrary, we would like at least to have the opportunity to look and see what it says.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Next is Ed Masters.
Good evening. I
I would just echo what Don Black said. One thing I'd point out is that this new position that the city's taking relative to what they're going to do with the homeowners association, the covenants, and the landowners. My understanding, you have a case going right now. A guy wanted to put up a fence, and he owed the homeowners association, $3,000-4,000, and the building permit wasn't issued. So I've lived in Joliet or Shorewood for my entire life. Now, Joliet has always gone along with the homeowners associations and what they had to do and what they had to provide and what they found. Now, if they're changing, I don't have any argument with the fact that you're changing. It's just that we'd like to see if not, this is a situation where the interpretation that's being applied to it's appropriate. Let's not forget, we're talking about a residential subdivision. We're not talking about a residential subdivision where you have the storage of commercial vehicles or equipment or materials. That isn't what it says. It says residential. And for that reason, we'd just like an opportunity to respond to this memo, and if Mr. Shanahan's right, we'll come back and tell you that. If he's not, we'll come back and tell you that too. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Roger Bistry? That's all we have.
Directing your attention to the agenda for tomorrow evening. Under consent agenda, we've got position vacancies, looking to fill a dispatcher position. And then looking at Council Memo 444, this is an annexation agreement with the Port of Will County. This is in the Center Point development, and you may recall probably a year ago that we created we abandoned a portion of, I believe, Patterson Road there, and Center Point took over, and they put in a new rail line that circles around, and it pumps oil from down to the refinery. It also includes the quarry area up there. And apparently that property is being sold, and as the purchasing agent, attorney for the purchaser, took a look at all the documents, we found some discrepancies in the total acreage numbers that were in the legal document. Also, we found some discrepancy in terms of what we rezoned certain portions of that property for. So I'm asking you to, we'll remove this from the agenda because we need to look at it further, and we believe it has to go through the public hearing process again. No, go ahead. Mike, could you come up and clarify what I'm saying?
Thank you, Mr. Hock. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, I represent Port of Will County. If you recall, Port of Will County is the owner of approximately 45 acres on Patterson Road. It's still Patterson Road, north of Laraway Road, on the west side of Patterson Road. In 2014, this property was annexed to the City of Joliet, along with the property that Port of Will County sold to Center Point, both on the east side and west side of Center Point of Laraway Road. Mr. Hock represents correctly that the property Port of Will County is under contract to be sold, and in the process of doing due diligence, the attorneys for the buyer, along with ourselves, determined that there was some inaccuracies made through some things that occurred in this process that occurred 2 years ago. Number one was on the consent agenda, and that was that the legal description that was properly noticed in the newspaper and through public notice was inadvertently not attached to the annexation agreement ordinance. So we're asking that the council, by consent agenda for this item, just permit that to be added and then re-recorded. I think that's a very simple matter. There's another matter on the council agenda for tomorrow, and that matter is under ordinances 10A number 7, the very last one. ordinance correcting ordinance 17136 and zoning, instead of a 55-acre parcel, a 45-acre parcel. Now, that specific ordinance, that is the one where what happened in that instance, I indicated earlier, that Porter-Will County was the owner of, is and still the owner of 45 acres. They had sold to CenterPoint. Essentially, there were two transactions at CenterPoint. One was a 55-acre sale, and the other was a 10-acre sale. Two different situations, totaling 65 acres. What happened, unfortunately, was when the council passed the ordinance zoning the Porter-Will County property, it was classified as IT. Everybody recognizes that as the intermodal district zoning, which is classified for CenterPoint type properties, not I-2, which is the Porter-Will County, which is a mining property. So that was discovered that that was an inadvertent error, and we're asking then through that ordinance that the council then correct the 45-acre zoning from IT to I-2. Now, we've had some discussion on that with Mr. Shanahan, the Corporation Counsel, as of Mr. Haller up to the time of this meeting. He will be producing a new council memorandum and an ordinance for your consideration tomorrow night to make sure this is totally clarified. It's a pretty difficult thing to understand. We've spent a lot of time going back and forth to make certain that this is correct. So hopefully I have properly conveyed to the council the two actions for action tomorrow night. One, a consent matter, and the other is just a correction of a zoning.
And we'll prepare a new memo for you tomorrow for that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Then we have the issuance of a Class B liquor license at 22 Cass Street.
Mayor? Yes. Actually, I want to go back to the dispatch job, just to be clear for anybody who's watching. That's going to be off the current list. We just came up with some.
That's true.
A short time ago. Okay.
That's an eligibility list that got established some months ago.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. A public hearing was held on July 21st, 2015 for a requested transfer of a Class B with special event liquor license for The Tree, which is formerly Mojo's, at 22 West Cass Street. The applicant is Philip Kuipers, who at this time is the sole owner. Since Philip is not a resident of the city of Joliet, Christina Gibbons will be the resident manager. No citizens appeared in opposition at the hearing. There are no monies owed to the city at this time. The police, fire, and building departments have no objections. The Liquor Commission, based on the hearing, is recommending approval of the license.
Just like to comment. Thank you for correcting yourself, because while the city of Joliet does tend to move slowly, I'm glad that the hearing wasn't 1915.
That's back when I started. Sorry about that.
Any questions? Thanks.
Council Memo 448, we're asking for a postponement so that we can finalize the annexation agreement. And then we move on to ordinances. 449 is, again, the petitioner, Roger Bistry, returning. This was reappearing, and you've heard comment earlier. Item 450 is a creation of two single-family lots from one existing large lot. The petitioner plans on demolishing the existing home and building two new single-family homes on the individual lots. They'll have to comply with water sewer connection fees. Storm sewer drain will be installed by the developer. Any questions?
I wanted to go back to 448 on the Linden Avenue. Is that the one with the that we discussed with the sewer and water?
Yes.
And where are we at with that sewer and water as far as the cost and who's going to pay it?
As far as the cost?
Cost, wasn't there discussion on whether or not we were going to pay for 80 feet, if I remember?
It was when they're going to connect.
Right.
we're,
They were going to connect to water right away.
Right.
that's why it's postponed, because we haven't finalized that
I think one of the
annexation
question
agreement.
was the 80 feet that we were
Right.
going to pay for that we
Right.
normally don't, as
That's
Jim
right.
Egan said. Okay, so you're working on that?
We're working on that,
Okay, thank
yes. Okay. Item 451. This is at 30 and Garden. This is a commercial development where they're requesting preliminary recording of the plat. This will include I think Potbelly is going to be in this commercial development. And this property goes right up to where the entrance into the new Dick's is on 30. There's a couple of homes there right now that'll be torn down. And there'll be 2 anchors on each end with some commercial in between and go right up to Garden Street. So we've done an initial review of the plans. Everything looks in order. And they're requesting the vacation of a 10-foot wide drainage easement and preliminary plat for the development. Any questions? Item 452 is modification for our stormwater ordinance. And this is really just a cleanup item. We're paralleling the county stormwater ordinance so that there is no confusion between people developing in the city or in the county, and making sure that we're parallel with the requirements throughout the county. Item 453 is a special use permit to allow the construction of a new Mazda franchise. This is going into the intersection of Jefferson and Springfield there, where the cigar shop is, and a multi-tenant commercial strip center. Those will be torn down, and the new Hawk Mazda will put a whole new building on that site. So it's a welcome development to the community.
Excellent. It's excellent.
Quick question? Yes. Now, the existing businesses in the Strip,
Can't hear you.
I'm sorry, the existing businesses in the Strip,
Yes,
have they found new locations in Joliet?
that I don't know.
We will assist them, right, if
We
they
will,
need it?
certainly,
Okay.
yeah. Council Memo 454 is a special use permit for temporary staffing agency in an existing structure at 3103 West Jefferson. Integrity Staffing Solutions. This is a 42,000 square foot, 1-story multi-tenant brick building, and this is something that comes to council for a special use permit.
Mayor?
Yes. Why is it a special use?
Well, it's one of the concerns I think council has, and rightfully so, and that we amended the ordinance, is because we wanted to make sure that these weren't places where, you know, drive-by employers come pick up people to work for a day labor kind of places. Okay. And that they've got legitimate, you know, although they're interim and temporary staffing, it's not something on a daily basis where people are hanging out and waiting to get picked up and taken to a work site for the day. So to address that concern, that's why we made it special use approval.
Does that fit within all staffing?
Yes, it does.
Thank you.
Mayor? Yes. Jim, how many temporary staffing agencies do we have in the city now? Seems like we've approved several.
I don't know, but
More than several.
I know we've probably approved a half a dozen of them in the last year.
Now, do we know what the business model is in this? Or is this, let's be frank, specifically to staff for warehouses?
That I can't answer. I know that I think I read where they are going to be working with Amazon, but I do know. Oh, okay.
Can you approach the microphone, please?
Good evening. Mark Koenig from the Koenig Group. I represent ownership and the staffing agency. Staffing agency is a Delaware-based company. They're going to be doing other staffing besides Amazon, but it's going to be a huge percentage of their staffing. They did just sign a 4-year agreement with Amazon for staffing just for Amazon, but of course there's going to be bits and pieces of other companies if they could pull them in out there. They do more than just industrial. They do light industrial, clerical and administrative, finance and accounting, direct hire, temporary, temp to hire, full-time contract, on-site project, and home volume or high volume staffing. So it's more than just warehousing also. But right now they are coming here primarily for Amazon.
Thank you.
As Mike Hansen mentioned earlier, 455 will we'll get a new memo to you clarifying that. Under resolutions, just want to point out to you that we're, items 458 and 459, we're purchasing 2 more homes down by the East Side Sewer Treatment Plant for construction of our wet weather treatment facility. Also, memo 462, which is authorization for the Alexander Company for the Louis Joliet Apartments. And so basically what is being requested in this case, we used home funds originally, but we did it as a loan. Even though that money, we're a pass-through agent for HUD for the use of home funds. And at that time, it was thought that this would be a big moneymaker. So we made it a loan originally. And so they are now asking us to, the Louis Joliet Hotel was converted, and they're asking us to forgive the remaining amount on the loan. Again, that, in essence, it's not a loan from us, but a loan from the federal government. By agreeing to forgive this outstanding debt, then it provides that the owners maintain the facility as affordable housing and market rate housing in downtown Joliet.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
The original loan was this $1,042,000, or that's what's left on it now, Jim?
No, that's the original, back in 2002, a little over $1 million.
So this is HUD's money. Are we allowed to?
Yes, we are. Yeah. Actually, they prefer it to not be a loan, that it just be given, you know, as part of a development. And the purpose is to stimulate development in the community.
Do we have any idea how full or the facility is at this time, or how many units are running over there?
That
This is at Scott and Clinton?
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
This is Scott and Clinton?
That's correct.
Yeah, but 6 months ago, I stopped in there. It's completely full.
It's full.
Capacity.
Wow.
It is. Okay.
And it also, just so you know, they'll, under the HUD guidelines, they have to keep it affordable for 15 more years. So that's another thing too. And we're in a third position in the mortgage, so the odds are if something happened that we wouldn't see any money on a collection standpoint, that the first mortgager would be the first one to step in. So like I say, it was structured in a way that we did it as a loan, but we could have done it as a grant back in the day. I think it was more conducive to do it this way at that time.
To simplify it, and Jim, originally it was federal grant money. So what I'm thinking is when it happened way back when it happened too, the concept was, we'll help this project, they'll pay us back, and we can reuse the money.
Correct.
Right.
Okay. So there will be no obligation to the city or any other third party. And HUD, as far as they're concerned, the federal government, that money's gone already.
That's right.
Okay. Why are we forgiving the original agreement if it's fully, if it's full, if there's no vacancies? They should have made their money based on the presentation they made to us as a city. So why wouldn't they give it back so we could reuse it? Do you know what I mean? If they were empty, as Councilman Mudron alluded to, you know how many units, where are they at? If they were empty or half full, didn't work out. If they're full completely, shouldn't their model, their business model, and accompanying formulas provide that they owe the money? They knew that up front.
That's a valid question, but I think we've tried to explain here that the annual payment they make to us is 20% of available cash flow after deducting for operating and maintenance expenses, first mortgage loan debt service, second mortgage loan debt service, and replacement of reserve deposits as required by the first and second mortgage holder. So there's not much money coming back to us anyways.
And Councilman, if I could add, back in the day, they thought that if the downtown gentrified, those market rate apartments would have paid substantially more in rent, then that would be a cause to pay it back. And as we can, over the past 10 years, we can see that that didn't happen. Rents haven't substantially increased in the downtown area, even though we had hoped that they would.
Well, and again, I understand that there's no obligation to pay it back to HUD, so it all becomes whether we can reuse it for other purposes in the city. Right. And I almost am feeling left with the feeling that we entered into a partnership, and the business didn't do so well, so now we don't get our money back. And that's why I think we shouldn't be entering into partnerships and buying apartments.
Jim, do you have any idea what that annual repayment amount has been?
I don't know. Alfredo will be here tomorrow night, and I know he knows all the details of the loan and the payback and all of that.
And I'll ask him to have that information.
Yeah, we'll
You know,
have
how
it
much
for
are
you
we
tomorrow.
seeing in terms of a real return?
And how long it would take
Yeah.
to continue to pay it off. Okay, thanks, Jim.
Then also one other question. You mentioned the apartment rent rates. Do you know, or can Alfredo tell us how much they're getting in rent? If it's subsidized by the federal government, they're not getting stiffed. They're getting the money every month.
Correct, and as a matter of fact, that there's been shortfalls. Well, what Alfredo did tell me is there's been shortfalls on the affordable rents that they have to make up with tax credits every year to help finance the project, to keep it afloat. And again, to preserve those low-income units, that's how they've been funded. But he'll be able to explain all that tomorrow.
Thank you.
Then under amendments, change orders, 468, we're asking to pull that from the agenda. We'll have it on the next meeting. We needed to revise the amount of that sewer repair amendment. So, and that's all I have, unless you've got further questions about the agenda. We are requesting a brief closed session.
Any questions?
Mr. Mayor, I got one. Just kind of going back to the staffing agency, but not singling them out or Amazon out, but some of the companies have came and said they're going to hire full-time people. And I know most of the staffing agencies is part-time. So do we have a way to, you know, keep them true to when they come before us to say, well, we're going to hire, it's going to all be full-time or half part-time, you know, whatever the case may be.
Not really, unless we've provided some kind of incentive agreement where we specifically say in the incentive agreement that you have to hire people from Joliet, or there have to be X amount of full-time positions, and then we audit them after a certain period of time.
Amazon did make representations about the type of jobs that were coming in. They did say there was going to be some part-time. Could we get a breakdown of what they anticipate the full-time, the number of full-time jobs will be versus part-time?
Yes.
Thank you.
Business? Any new business?
No new business?
Public comments, we did have one person sign up to speak this evening, Millard Driscoll.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Millard Driscoll. I'm the most virtual Grand Master of Prince Hall Masons for the state of Illinois and its jurisdiction. I am here this evening to present to one of your outstanding council persons, Councilperson Betty Gavin, if you'd please come down. And as she's coming down,
I thought you were going to call my name for a minute.
I can make you a Mason, but not right now.
Okay.
As this reads, we had our annual unification and Grand Lodge in the city of Springfield in August 5th, and that's why it's dated that. And it reads, the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge, free and accepted Mason, state of Illinois, and its jurisdiction, hereby honors and salutes Honorable Miss Betty Gavin, Joliet City Councilwoman, in recognition of your faithful and dedicated service to the citizens of the great city of Joliet, Illinois. We salute you for your labors to improve the quality of life for its residents. Presented on this day, August 4th, 2015. Most Worshipful Brother Millard V. Driscoll, Grand Master. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, for your
Thank you.
attention.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Betty.
This is a most humble and honored.
You keep up the good work.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Mayor?
Yes.
I'd just like to make a comment. Councilman Gavin, this is really a big deal. I don't know if you realize that, because my dad is a Freemason, and he is a past master of one of the lodges in Chicago. And once a Mason, forever a Mason. So for you to get that honor, I applaud you.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
I am so humbled by this and honored. Thank you.
Any other public comments? None. Next, we have mayor and council comments.
It's pre-council.
Pre-council, I think we can go to executive.
A lot of words.
Motion to go into closed session to discuss personnel, collective bargaining, land acquisition or conveyance pending or threatened litigation, after which the meeting will be adjourned.
So moved. Second.
Motion and seconded. Councilwoman Gavin.
Aye.
Councilman Girl.
Aye.
Councilman Hug.
Aye.
Councilman Morris.
Aye.
Councilman Mudron.
Aye.
Councilwoman Coleman.
Aye.
Councilman Turk.
Aye.
Motion carried.
That's the way the